getting at the beginning of the year? I mean, do you have things you want in compared to past years? Are you ahead, behind? Are you comfortable with where this group is heading into the season?
We've got enough in that I think will allow us to be successful, I hope. But we've got to get a lot more in as the next 6-7 weeks coming, before we get to conference play. But, we've got enough in. We've got to do a better job with what we got in before we move on, I guess, probably the best way to say that. We still are making a lot of execution mistakes for the stuff that we have in. And so before we move on, we've got to do a much better job on what we're doing right now.
Just having Baylor out there so quick, ramp anything up or alter anything that you're doing?
It really can't. We got to move at our pace. Baylor will be a big challenge on Monday. There's no doubt about that. I'm not sure we're ready for a game like that, but we'll just go out and play our best and see what happens. But they are a talented team. They've got a lot of experience, especially on the front line, and it'll take a big-time effort to put ourselves in a position there to win.
Will you be able to use that game in a sense like, okay, here you go, look, guys, either you're not as good as you thought you were, or this is what we have to work on when you face an opponent like Baylor on Monday?
Well, I think our guys, will compete. I just don't know where we're at, and our guard's going to be awfully young. We were, as we mentioned, as we talked about before, very dependent on Dylan Ennis, and he won't be with us. So I'm anxious to see how Tyler steps up, Kendall steps up, Casey. They're going to get more of an opportunity to do more things because Dylan's not part of it. So, and also, our vets, Dylan, Dwayne, and Elgin, will really have to step up.
Do you plan on starting the season, these first couple games, going with 8-9 guys, or do you want a smaller rotation?
We'll probably look at all 9 guys that are on scholarship. It's not that big a group, I think, and especially the way the NCAA and the Rules Committee is really looking at, calling those fouls close. I think we're going to have really very closely called games early in the year. And so I would anticipate having to use all 9 of our scholarship guys. And, we have added a couple walk-ons because of the injuries, and we may have to dip into our bench there also.
Do you guys practice for the quick foul whistles? You guys kind of have a
we have trigger? Yeah, we've called it a lot closer in our workouts, trying to get our guys used to getting those hands off and trying to work within the rules. I think the rules overall are good for the game. What they're suggesting, it's just going to be interesting here early to see how closely they do call it. And how consistent those calls will be game in, game out.
Usually when they're implementing those sort of things, you think they go, like at the start of the season, they do it a lot more and then kind of transition back?
That's been the trend.
Right.
That has been the trend, no doubt. Early in the year, they are right by the mandates, and as the season progresses, it usually gets more physical. But this year, they seem to be much more pronounced with this is the way it's going to be, and it's the way it's going to remain. And so if there's ever been a year where that shouldn't be the case, it would be this one, because they really have made a point to keep those rules and keep the consistency of those rules throughout the season. They're athletic. They got 4 starters back. They brought in a couple new guards that are talented, so it'll definitely give us a look at an athletic team.
What are you expecting a little bit out of them as far as a press on defense, or no pressing yet? Because I remember you mentioned after last game you guys hadn't seen much of the press this
In
year.
the exhibition game that they had, they were mostly man-to-man, played some zone, had a little soft press, but we'll be ready for whatever they throw at us, and it may be a full court press, maybe some soft press, but I'm sure we'll see some at some point in time.
You get any kind of updated timetable on Jordan out there?
No, he is going in to see the doctor today, and hopefully he'll be able to progress a little bit more. But he is moving pretty good, and he's got a new haircut, so he's pretty proud of that. But I think he's doing all right.
when someone gets completely cleared to do all activities, and how long does it usually take to get someone?
It varies, but Jordan's been out a long time.
Yeah.
So we'll be very cautious with it, move very slowly. I definitely don't anticipate him being back for another 2 or 3 weeks.
Do you wonder where the leadership is going to come from on this team, or have you seen enough to have an idea of that already?
No, it's a concern. We've got to have some guys step up. Dylan Hennis was such a vocal leader that he really did a great job. So we're going to have Casey, who's going to have the ball in his hands some. Kendall, who's just a freshman, but he's going to have the ball in his hands, so he's got to step up a little bit. But more importantly, I think Dwayne and Elgin, are the two guys, and Dylan Brooks, who, because of their experience, they need to do a little better job and bring it day to day in practice, and also so it carries over to the games. It's not something, leadership isn't something you just turn on and off. You've got to do it full time, and so those guys will have to pick it up a little bit here in practice.
Can you guys teach leadership, or is that just something that guys have to kind of progress with?
Well, we promote it. I think guys can grow into that role, if that's the question you're asking. I think some come by it naturally. Others, as their confidence grows, they feel more comfortable saying something to other guys in the team. So, I think you can grow into that role as your career progresses, and you become a bigger part of the team. You become more confident in what you're giving to the team. It gets a little easier.
You've needed Boucher. Did his performance in the exhibitions change what you think you can expect from him until you get Jordan back?
Not really. I think that, it'll be interesting to see how it translates, with bigger, stronger teams. But he is working hard in practice. He's done a phenomenal job of working day in, day out, and can't fault his effort, can't fault his focus, but there is a learning curve, and we just hope it's a real short one.
You mentioned being more physical on the boards. He's obviously a slender guy. Is there things he can do to sort of overcome the fact that he's probably going to be giving up a few pounds?
We'll probably just let him go get boards. I'm not sure we're going to ask him to be too physical. Some of the other guys, the physicality has to increase, but we'll probably just let him go see how many he can get.